Hi!
Hello.
Welcome back!
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Well, that's because you're sitting crisscross on a couch, which is weird.
I have problems.
Yes, you do.
I have back problems. That's because I'm 400 years old.
Jesus Christ. And again, I want to apologize if I'm coughing through some of this review. I'm still having the allergy thing.
Allergies. Well, now I have malaria.
So
my apologies to anyone that has malaria. I'm not trying to be offensive.
Welcome to our review of Skies of Arcadia Legends.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Just in case you don't know, Skies of Arcadia Legends is a GameCube remake of a game for the Dreamcast, simply called Skies of Arcadia.
Yeah.
I never owned a Dreamcast, so when it came time to try and get a copy,
retrospect was a great decision.
when it came time to, I wanted to review this game for a show, but it was hard to get even an emulator of Dreamcast working. So in the end, we did settle on the GameCube because it was easier for us to find copies to play for the review. That's why we're doing Skies of Arcadia Legends instead of the original. There shouldn't be too many differences. I believe the music is different, and how some of the mini games work is a little different.
Right, and there's improved things. What I hear is the random battles were like absurd.
Fewer random battles in this remake, but higher experience for them, I believe.
Which is a much more streamlined experience.
Yeah. So, without further ado, let's dive into personal history.
So I have kind of an interesting, depending on your definition of the word, interesting story about my personal history. So this is one of the rare games that we play that I actually have not played before. But I do remember, and I don't know why I remember this, being in a GameStop 12, 13, 14 years ago, and being in the GameCube section and trying to choose between Skies of Arcadia and Tales of Symphonia. And I love Tales of Symphonia. I love the Tales series, and Symphonia was my introduction into that series. But it meant that on that particular day, when I was 20 years old or whatever, I chose Tales of Symphonia over Skies of Arcadia and never played it. Which now I know was a great loss for me as a young man. I still enjoy Symphonia, but I did pick that over Skies of Arcadia, and there's some weird part of me that just feels really sad about that. But it was fun experiencing this game for the first time.
I have very minimal personal experience with this game. I had just started dating a young lady, and she had this apartment full of guys, friends of hers that she would hang out with, so we were hanging out over there. Just wasting time, because when you're young, that's what you do with your time. And they were playing Skies of Arcadia. I was mainly focused on the young lady I was with, but I remember exactly one moment of this game, and it was the character, I think his name is Gilder. He's a bit of a ladies' man, and he had a quote that he thinks women are like sunsets. Beautiful, unique, and there'll be a different one here tomorrow. I was like, okay, that quote stuck out. But that was like, that's some, I like that. That's decent writing. I don't necessarily agree with the sentiment, women, but I liked the writing of the character. And that's it. That's my entire Skies of Arcadia experience before I played it for this. Is one quote I saw when I wasn't obsessively staring at the young lady I was involved with at the time. So, there you go. I have a plot synopsis that I have written. Yay. Russ always enjoys these.
I do, especially that Chrono Trigger one. That was just something else.
When a group of good sky pirates find a mysterious woman, they also inquire the enmity of an evil empire. Discovering the empire is bent on world domination, our small handful of rogues decide to travel the world, acquiring mystical artifacts, always one step ahead of the empire, so that they might save the world.
So we're talking about Star Wars today, right?
Actually, I have that written here also. The opening of this game is almost identical to Star Wars.
Literally like the
because
New Hope.
It is a big evil ship going through the sky, gunning at this little tiny ship carrying a princess.
Yeah.
The opening to this game is the opening to Star Wars. And the first big quest of the game is the opening quest to Fallout 2, which is your village has been kidnapped and you have to go into the heart of evil to save them and bring them back home.
Yeah. So, thank you, George Lucas, I guess, for Skies of Arcadia.
The setting for Skies of Arcadia is different than most JRPGs. In fact, different than any JRPG we've ever played before. Most of the JRPGs that we play have airships, or their equivalent. But this game is focused on the airships. Airships are a vital part of life because the gameplay takes place on the floating rocks in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
You almost want to think about it like how a gas giant works, where you can't actually get down to the surface, but there are bands of atmosphere where the pressure is possible. So there's floating rocks in this atmosphere. The continents are just floating in the sky. To get from one area to another, it's all sky ships. Sky ships, sky pirates, sky traders.
Which all work more like boats than they do actual ships. So
Yes.
it goes with the pirate motif.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, in fact, considering there are 7 moons around this world, I actually think it might be on a gas giant.
Oh, interesting. I don't know that much about space, but I'll take your word for that.
I think that the entire setting may actually be a gas giant, which is why they can't go further down to the surface,
Right.
because the pressure would crush them.
Oh, okay.
But they're floating in this, like, this is their livable range,
Mhm.
and the pressure is such that it's able to keep some rocks
There's
aloft.
still new layers to this game. It's a wonderful, wonderful game.
But that's enough about the setting. It's magnificent and
It's really a
interesting.
magnificent setting.
It's unique.
It's very unique, and the multiple moons and and how each land or whatever you want to call it
Has
is
its
so
own culture.
different
Yeah.
from the others. And
But more important than the setting, Russ, tell us about these characters.
well, the main character is named Cupel.
No.
And
No, it is not.
And he is adorable.
He is not the main character. He is a weapon used by one of the characters.
Yes. No, the real main character is a young man named Vice or Vise.
I think Vice.
Vice. Because Vise is his
V-Y-S-E.
evil counterpart.
Yes.
But anyway,
Evil.
Vice is the main character, and he is a sky pirate. He's a blue rogue.
And the son of a sky pirate.
And the son of a sky pirate.
The son of a famous sky pirate.
Because you couldn't play as a 30-something-year-old man. You have to play as a 16-year-old boy.
Trying to prove himself.
Right.
Yeah.
And his 16-year-old best friend, Ika, who I love.
I
Ika
also,
is
yes.
wonderful. She's this rambunctious, redheaded
With
girl.
like weird hair and spunky personality.
Fights with a boomerang. I love a girl that fights with a boomerang.
Well, who
I love
doesn't?
anyone that fights with a boomerang. And they're besties. She maybe has a little bit of a crush on him, but one of my relief in this game is there's not really a love story, even though your main characters are the 16-year-old dude and 2 16-year-old girls. It's not a love story, and the girls
They don't even address it. It's
No.
not even like unrequited love. Like,
right.
we've got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Maybe we can worry about romance after.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, thank you. The girls get along.
The
It's
other
just-
girl is Fiona.
Yes, the
She's
other girl
the princess
is
we
Fina.
mentioned at the
She's
beginning.
the princess that was.
Is it Fina?
Fina?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Fina. You're not very good at names.
I'm not.
sometimes.
It's because
You
I'm
were
such
close.
I'm such an
Fiona is
egomaniac
close.
that I don't really think about other people because I think about me.
But Fina is a Sylvite. She's from the kingdom that's under like the Silver Moon. And there's some special stuff that goes on with them, and there's reasons that they're trying to kidnap her. So Vice and Ika are the blue rogue pirates that rescue her from her ship as she's trying to get away. And the three of them travel together, and they're your main 3 characters throughout the game. There are other characters.
But your full party is 4 characters.
Is 4 characters that you
There are 3
swap
other
out.
characters that rotate out as the story goes
Right.
on, and then at the end, you can actually pick which one of those 3 you want to be in your final party, which I liked.
Yeah, that's.
Like, first of all, I prefer it when a game gives you set party members and that cast changes as the game goes on. think Final Fantasy IV as opposed to Final Fantasy VI.
Right.
Because I find if you let me pick my party members, if you give me a list of 20 people, like here, pick 4. I pick the same 4 every time and for the entire game. Whereas if you switch them out for me, if you make them change, then I get to experience the different personalities and skills and balances. So I like that.
I liked it too.
And then at the end, it says, okay, now you've sampled these 3 extra party members. Which one do you want?
Right.
I like that. I like that the most.
And I liked the extra part. Well, I liked Gilder the best, obviously.
Gilder is the ladies' man, debonair pirate of the sky, who's always trying to avoid the one woman who wants to marry him.
Which I know is like such a terrible sexist joke or something, but it's
just so cute.
I know. I just Clara. I loved Clara so much. Clara knows what she wants.
And
that's what I liked
she
about
gets
her.
her man. I mean, that's, you know, she's going to succeed. He's always trying to avoid her. She gets what she wants.
I liked her. And then there's Drachma. Drachma's
the grizzled old man.
Yeah.
With the arm cannon.
Mm-hmm. He's probably my least favorite. He's fine, but
and Henri
and Enrique, and he was fun. The twist involving him was fun. So
I liked Henri because he had that ability for very low cost. Well, we'll get into it in combat.
Was his name Henri or Enrique? Now I'm bad with the name.
Well, I thought it was Henri because there wasn't an E at the end.
Oh, okay. Maybe I wasn't paying attention.
So I thought of him as Henri, but it could be Enrique or Enrique.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway,
we don't know what we're talking about.
He's a noble. He fights with a sword.
A rapier.
He's not as good as Gilder.
He's a noble that fights with a rapier because he's super noble.
Super noble, yeah. And I loved the villains too. I liked all of the different admirals of the different ships. So you're fighting the Valuan Empire, who wants to rule like all of these continents that are under all of the different moons.
And there's a large...
And there's like 5 admirals that control 5 fleets.
It's kind of like the Shinra board in Final Fantasy VII. Like, here's this large group of enemies that you will encounter in various ways. And you actually do get to know the villains pretty well. Right. They're well personified. You have multiple encounters with most of them. Not all of them are evil. Some of them are just like, I'm doing my job. Some of them want to turn when they realize...
Yeah, most of them actually get some kind of redemption at the end. Because they're more complex characters than just I'm the evil villain.
The villains have story arcs.
Yeah.
They have character, and it's really, really well done.
Very well done. And then you have all of your shipmates. So you get to recruit.
We'll get into that in
Okay, well, fair enough. Well, they're characters.
They are, but they're very minor characters.
But still, just the idea of doing that in that day and age. And then, of course, there's Cupel. So we've gone back around to what I started with. Cupel is Fiona's weapon. And Fina, see, you got me doing it. Okay. Fina's weapon. I always love weird weapons in games and cute characters.
And this is
so Cupel is perfect. Cupel is this little. Is Cupel, and this is what I'm going to ask you: is Cupel supposed to be a looper? Loopers are like the metal slimes of the game.
Oh, yes.
And they're these cute little teardrop looking things.
I can kind of see that. I assumed it was just a creature from the Silver Empire, like a normal creature that's there that she has taken as a pet.
Either way, he's this cute. He kind of looks like a little ghost.
You said looper, and I'm thinking, I don't remember Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this game.
Oh, you missed that part. But anyway, Cupel is this little ghost-looking thing that's Fina's pet, and he transforms. There's like this series of different weapons.
As you collect things to level him up.
You collect chams and you feed them to him.
It's chams and some chimes
will make him regurgitate all chams.
Yeah, but there's 3 of them. There's 3 types.
Oh, there's the special chams.
Yeah.
There are special chams that let you skip like eating a whole set of chams.
It's a very complicated
system, but it's fun because Cupel's so cute.
Yeah.
And if you feed him all the chams that are in the game, then Fina becomes like the strongest character, even though she's supposed to be the mage. But as you can see, I'm just gushing over the characters because this was an amazing game and I loved the characters in it.
Well, let's move on to another excellent part of this game, the combat system. Okay, I'd like to start out with a couple of minor things first before we really get into the meat of the combat system. The combat system, instead of being like on a menu, it's on a pirate ship wheel. You actually navigate the wheel to pick your options, which is kind of a nice aesthetic.
Yeah, I know.
Another very minor thing that I really like that stood out to me immediately is as the combat is happening, the party member you're not currently assigning to do something, they're all out there moving in the battlefield.
Mhm.
Now, it's just for visuals. Your placement on the battlefield has no impact on your attacks, and they're fighting with the other enemies, which again has no impact on anybody's health. It's just for the look of the thing, but it makes the menu-driven combat system, turn-based combat, seem much less static.
Yeah.
It
Definitely.
feels more real because there is movement happening while you're deciding what to do.
Right.
The fact that the movement doesn't matter helps because now you're not in a panic or a rush to pick what am I going to do, but it does make it look a lot better. So I liked that
agree.
touch.
Yeah.
And I don't remember seeing that before. Usually if your characters have freedom of movement, it matters.
I've seen it in a couple of RPGs since, but not before this came out in 1999 or 2000 or whenever.
So for each character's turn, or no, for each combat round, you build up something called SP, which are the special powers, right?
Yeah.
SP lets you use your special abilities. So, you have your HP, which is your health. You have your MP, which is your magic. And you have your SP, which is your special moves. To use magic, this gets complicated.
Right.
Casting magic in battle always costs 1 MP. But the more powerful the spell, the more SP it costs.
Right.
Some characters
SP
also...
is for like, I thought of it as like for actions that aren't just attacking.
Yeah. Building your SP is very important. And
you all share it.
Yes, it is shared
It's
by the
shared
group.
by the party.
If you manage to max out the SP bar, you can unlock some really powerful attacks. And near the end of the game, it becomes almost essential to do that for some of the final battles. I actually have written down. I'm gonna grab my notes here because this gets complicated. So when you complete a battle, you get XP. That's normal. You get experience points, which level up your character. But you also level up your magic. All of the weapons that you have, at any point, you can change the color of the weapon to match the various magic affinities. So you can be attacking with yellow for lightning, or blue for wind, or purple for ice.
You got like 2 of those right.
You can... Seriously?
Purple for ice. Keep going.
Blue for wind. Yellow for electricity. Red for fire. Green for health, mainly, or poison. Anyway, there's 5 different colors. 7? 7 colors? How many colors are there?
There's
7.
Yes,
7 moves.
There's 7. Mm-hmm.
And there's a complex of, a yellow weapon is stronger against a green enemy and that sort of thing that you can map out. But whatever color your weapon is, when you finish the combat, you get 2 magic points towards that. And then you get 1 magic point for every color that one of your party members has. And that's how you unlock new spells. So you're constantly kind of changing up who has what magic color on their weapon, because, I need more healing spells, or, I want this person to have fire spells. So you're having to map that out and make sure that your characters grow their magic in the direction you want. It sounds much more complicated than it becomes once you get into it.
Yeah.
It's a lot, though.
It is a lot. It's a lot, but it's fun. It's good. It's yes. For the complexities of the system, I enjoyed all of it. Like, there was never a time that I thought, oh, that's tedious. Even though it might sound tedious in explanation, I never got to the point that I'm like, oh, this is just tedious.
If you've played the Tales games, especially the more recent ones, The Tales game have a very complex combat system. In fact, it's so complex that it's not fun for me. I just turn the game on auto, or mostly auto, and just let it do the combat.
That was
I'm
a
not learning
startling
this.
confession when you told me that.
You were shocked.
It's like, it's weird, but okay.
I just, at a certain point, it becomes so complex that I'm like, you know what? Screw it. You've got this figured out. Just do it for me. Skies of Arcadia is not that complex.
No.
It takes a little bit to get used to figuring out how to get the most out of your SP and how to level up your magic, but it's not as complex as it sounds. But there's also, well, let me say this, the game is super nice about buffs and healing. Buffs in particular always go first. If your party is buffing yourself, that person always goes first. The turn order is kind of random.
Yeah.
There really doesn't seem to be, there's no way for the game to tell you who's going to go next, but it does always let your, like if you're going to cast protection on the party, you go first. Thank you.
And that comes in very helpful with Ica's, what's it called, Delta Shield?
Delta Shield. And
Delta Shield is an lifesaver late in the game.
Later in the game, what you start doing is every combat, every turn, Delta Shield and Honor Shield. Honoree's Honor Shield. The Delta Shield cancels out all magical damage. The Honor Shield halves all physical damage. So for every boss fight, it's just like shield, fight, build up SP.
Right.
That's my 4 party members. 1 fights, 2 shield, and 1 just wastes their turn to build up some SP for the party until I max out the SP and hit a super attack. That's how all the boss combats win at the end.
Right. And speaking of bosses, one thing in the combat system I wanted to note, which is kind of a pet peeve of mine about a lot of RPGs, is that you get these like status effect spells, and they don't ever do anything, but in this game, you can really strategically use those during a lot of the boss fights. Notably, the final boss is not immune to silence. Which is, did you not know that?
I think I missed that.
Did you not know that? The final boss mostly uses magic attacks. But
I was just Delta Shielding.
Can be silenced.
Nice.
And I love that. And that's not the only boss that it works on. I mean, most of the main bosses.
I don't think I even tried status effects on bosses.
Yeah, and I learned to try that on like every boss. Because generally, most of the late game bosses at least have like one status effect that works on them that completely turns the tide of the battle. Nice. And I thought that was a very interesting. That's very different when you get, even in like Final Fantasy, you'll get stone and sleep and whatever.
And they
never work on bosses, and they're only marginally effective on any random enemies. But this game, you can totally turn the tide of boss battles with status effects, which I loved.
But there's a whole other type of battle we haven't even talked about.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Because you're in your airship. You're a pirate, a sky pirate. There are ship battles, which have a completely different combat system. They are fought on a logical grid, where you plot out your next 4 moves. Each of your 4 main party members get to do something. Mm-hmm. Are they going to attack? Are they going to build up SP? Are they going to cast magic? Are they going to heal? Are they going to use items? Are they going to call in a crew member? And you lay out what order or what turn they're going to do each action. Certain cannons, for example, can be fired. I want it to fire this turn, and then I want it to fire the next 3 turns as well, which costs more SP, but you can actually line it up so that you're hitting the enemy like 4 times in 1 turn. If you plan all that stuff out, it's very interesting. And you also get to make decisions as those combats go on, like, do you try to sneak up behind the enemy ship? Do you try to get in closer? And the decisions that you make in those moments affect the combat. Because in each turn, there's different symbols for like, this is a really good turn to attack. This is the only turn you can use your super weapon on. This is a turn where you're going to get hit. And the order of those symbols changes based on the decisions the game asks you to make.
It's really good.
It's a lot of fun.
It's really fun.
There aren't as many of them as I would like, but they are really fun.
Yeah. I like when you get to use your crew members.
Yes.
In those battles, and that one crew member in particular controls what drops you get.
Yeah.
from monsters too.
Um, I was going to say something, and
Good
now
luck.
it's gone.
How about Pow?
Was I going to say Pow?
Pow the dog. I didn't get to talk about him in character.
Go ahead and talk about Pow the dog while I try to remember what I was going to say.
I was just talking about crew members. One of the crew members that you can get is an adorable little purple dog named Pow. And he's my favorite. He doesn't really do anything. You can summon him in battle for something, but he's really just there to be cute. And I love him.
I remember what I was going to bring up combat-wise. This was kind of going to be under innovations, and we'll mention it there too, but there are side missions where you can hunt down, there are two types of sky pirates.
Oh.
The blue rogues, which are the good guys, and the black rogues, which are the really mean pirates. And you can hunt down the black rogues as side quests for extra money and gear and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that caught me by surprise with the game is I thought, you know what I'll do? These black rogue battles are pretty difficult. Why don't I wait till near the end of the game?
Sucker.
And then I'll go and collect them all at once. Not all of the combats do this, but the black rogue, the side quests, scale to your level. The stronger you are, the harder they are. There is no easy way to beat them. They are always going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't even upset when it happened. I
Yeah,
was like, oh, that's
because
good.
it's
I get
neat.
that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because they've been out there and they've been having adventures
Yeah.
too. They've been leveling up.
I thought I'll put off this combat until I've leveled up a bit. Doesn't matter. It's always difficult.
They're not just sitting at home waiting for
The
you.
only thing that changes is what special skills you have available.
True.
That can help.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of really there's only two types of combat, but I'd put the black rogue scaling to your level as kind of almost a third type.
And I like, because I've played RPGs where all enemies scale to your level, and typically I don't like that, but just having it for these specific
The bosses.
bosses, and in a way that it makes sense, because it makes you think, they're having their own adventures too, so they're not going to be weak just because you've leveled up. So yeah, I like that.
Okay, are you ready to move on from combat
Yes.
system, which we spent an hour and a half on?
Well, this is a wonderful game.
It is.
So-
To the even better topic of innovations.
Yes.
One thing this game has, kind of like Lunar, it actually has tiny spots of voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a whole lot of voice acting, but it's tiny spots of it. And this was, before voice acting was the norm.
Yes, exactly.
And it helps you feel like the characters had a little bit more personality, a little bit more character.
But another thing that gives the characters a lot of personality is the wonderful facial expressions. This was, for a game of this age, these characters are animated. They really know how to let you know. They really let you know how they're feeling.
The facial
By the look
expressions
on their
are
faces.
more on the level of like Lego. Like they
Yeah,
have like four different expressions and their face just switches to that expression.
Yeah.
But it is very effective,
It's
as
very
limited as it is, to conveying the emotion and adding context
Yes.
to the scene.
Thinking about like the Final Fantasies that were coming out during this time, where the characters were just, just a blank face.
Just a face.
It really, Ica especially, just emotes so much through the look on her face. And I really appreciated that. You know what it actually reminded me of was Chrono Trigger, and how Chrono Trigger does.
Oh yeah, they had
has
the
all
physical
different-
reactions.
Yeah, the physical reactions, like all the different sprites for all kinds of different emotions that the characters were having, and it reminded me of that a little bit. How just looking at that face,
It's a small
tells you
touch.
exactly what's going on.
Because
in your
again,
mind.
it's not super realistic. It's a small touch to just have like 5 or 6 facial expressions, but it does make a huge difference in making the characters more realistic.
For anyone that watches anime, it's like watching an old Sailor Moon or something, and like their face will just go wonky or whatever to let you know that's like a crazy moment.
Also, throughout the game, your character has to make choices at key moments, and those choices matter.
Yes.
Because if you make the right choice, you gain points towards your pirate level. and your pirate level controls the kinds of people you can bring into your party, the kind of the side quests you get available to you.
Just the way people react to you sometimes. Like, if there's good rumors going on around about you, then somebody will be nice. But if you're like a loser, like a scaredy cat that runs from every battle.
Yes, running from battle also affects your pirate points.
Yeah.
You don't really get to see your pirate points, but you do get to see when your title changes. As you level up through the points, you go from like noob to Legend of the Sky or something.
Yeah, you can be Vice the Legend.
Yeah.
And that's like the biggest.
I reached legend status.
Done everything. Yeah.
Well, speaking of doing everything, by the way, and I gotta get this for this, because there is so much in this game to collect and find, right? There are moonfish that you can hunt that are only visible through first-person point of view and can only be captured by standing in certain areas. And you have to find them by sound.
When I first started the game and I was just messing with all of the buttons, I found that first-person button.
And I
was like, what is this going to be used for? Like, is this just going to be some kind of weird looking at the scenery thing? But no.
There's also moonberries are hidden throughout the world in certain spots. And if you find moonberries, those give you the ability to unlock your character's special moves. You can also hunt for secret tourist spots scattered throughout the world that the guild of sailors will pay you for discovering, but...
And, that's what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
You're competing. You're actually competing to find those spots. So if you're the first person to discover a new location, then they'll pay you handsomely for it. But if some other person has already gone out and discovered that, they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, here's...
Yeah, thanks for double checking.
10, whatever the money is.
So that's almost a mini game in itself, finding all of the hidden locations. There's, like we discussed, the evil pirates to hunt down, which scale to your level. At a certain point in the game, you get a fortress, and you can actually recruit crew members who can then build your fortress, and you get to decide, hey, I want it to have like a Western theme. I want it to have an Eastern theme. I'd like a statue to this person here. And they will actually build. You can level up your shops that way. And that comes back around to something Russ has been wanting to talk about for a little bit, recruiting crew members for your ships. These are minor characters that aren't in your party.
Minor characters, not in your party.
Scattered throughout the world.
But you get to recruit them as crew members on their ship, and most of them give you different kinds of skills. Like I was saying before, like there's I don't remember what their job is, but there's like 2 different ones, and depending on who you have as a crew member on your ship, you get different drops from monsters, or some of them you can summon.
They have different skills they can use in combat.
Right.
There's a special move that summons all of your active crew to attack, and certain ones can heal. Like it can become a attack and heal and protect.
Right.
You also hunt for the chams that he mentioned earlier that evolve Cupel, because there's chams, and then there's the special chams, and then there's choms that let you throw up all the chams you fed it and try feeding them in a different order.
Exactly, get a different weapon and different stats.
If you're one of those people who likes completionists and mini games and hunting hidden things, you could just live in this game.
Yeah, this is one of those games that you could just play forever.
Another thing is there's a mini map in the corner for all the dungeons, and it fills in as you move along, so you can always tell where you've already been, which is just super helpful for figuring, because some of these dungeons are very maze-like for a reason, and it's helpful to be like, okay, I've been on this floor, I went in that room,
True. Lots of innovations.
All right. I don't know if you can tell how enthusiastic we are about this game.
It's a very good game.
Did you have anything else under innovations?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. But I like it. I like the realism behind somebody can make this discovery before you, or something like that, or the fact that you have the reputation that's not something that you can actively see. I mean, in real life, you don't have a little point bar that shows how popular you are.
You don't? Because I've been looking at yours, and I got news for you.
There's probably an app on your phone that does that, but Anyway.
And now we're in Black Mirror territory. So let's go ahead and move on to the music. So for our musical selection, we are going back to our good friend Mike in our PAX South hotel room. Take it away, Mike.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, welcome back.
Hi.
We are still in San Antonio for PAX South. It is the longest PAX South ever. We've been here all month.
Yeah.
Non-stop fun and
It's
excitement.
a dream. A dream.
We are once again joined by my friend Mike. Mike, again, is a staff writer for VGMO, so he writes about video game music. He's a staff writer. He actually knows what the hell he's talking about, which is why he is here. And we are here to talk about Skies of Arcadia Legends.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
what have you got?
Or Eternal Arcadia, right, as it was originally known in its home country. So, so tell me a little bit about your experience with the game. I know you've already done this segment, but
I mean, it was fantastic. It's entered my top 10 RPGs of all time. It's the first game that we've done
That
in
you had
this
never
series
played.
that I have never played before. I have no
Okay,
experience with.
Yeah, I had never
So-
played it either, so we both came to it. Russ has played almost everything, but
Well,
we both came
yeah,
to
I
this
played
one fresh,
everything
and
we've
we
already
both
played.
we both love it. It's a great game.
It's great. It's a travesty that it's not a.
There aren't sequels
It's not a
and
series
remakes, and yeah.
Right.
at this point.
yeah, I think it's telling that among the first comments on YouTube soundtrack, pick whatever one you like. It's just switch when, switch.
Yeah.
Put it on
yeah.
the Switch. And if Valkyria Chronicles is still alive at this point, I think there's hope for Skies of Arcadia.
Well, Valkyrie Chronicles at least got sequels. They weren't good, but there were sequels
Right.
and a spin-off, which
Right.
wasn't good. But
And it features 2 characters from Skies of
Yeah.
Arcadia.
3 actually.
Three? Is it
The
three?
medic, who is not a playable character, but the medic is
Right.
Fina.
Okay. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so my experience with the game is one of dim but cherished recollection. I haven't played Skies of Arcadia since it was released on the GameCube, so I played it.
Okay, so you also played Legends like we did, which
Right.
is the remake.
Right, and I played that in my bedroom in an apartment right here in San Antonio my senior year of college. And so I'm just left with this rosy afterglow, but my memory of the game is almost non-existent. And so, as with Dragon Quest, I've come to the soundtrack very much as someone who's new, at least new-ish to it. Any highlights from the score that you want to talk about? Anything that stands out before I go into this?
Yeah, nothing because this was my first time experiencing
Okay.
it, and I'm not a music guy anyway.
Right.
I was paying much more attention to other things. So,
Sure.
I mean, I liked the music, you know. I don't
The music did not seem out of place.
No, sorry.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's as much as I can
It
offer.
enhanced the experience,
Yeah,
but I was focused on.
Now, you may be planning on addressing this later, but it's my understanding that the music is different for Skies of Arcadia Legends versus the original on the Dreamcast.
Right.
I think I read that the remake is mostly like MIDI files,
Yeah.
so it's not as rich a sound as the original soundtrack.
Right.
Was a complaint.
Exactly, and I've seen that complaint replicated elsewhere. I think that's mentioned in the Hardcore Gaming 101 article about Arcadia, and so the exact nature of the shabbiness, shall we say? I don't know exactly where it comes from, but yeah, my understanding is that the Legends version of the soundtrack is greatly inferior to the one on the Dreamcast. And so you can find really nice, high-quality HD rips of this music on YouTube. Just make sure that you're listening to the Dreamcast version because you're going to get a richer experience. This is a soundtrack composed by 2 guys. One is Yutaka Minobe and his co-composer Tatsuyuki Maeda. And these are both employees of Sega, subsidiaries within Sega. So Minobe worked with Sega's Sonic team, and then Wavemaster, and he was with the company from 1997 to 2005. And Maeda is still with Sega and has long been serving with the company. I think his first credits appeared in 1992, doing sound effect work and sound editing. He made some contributions, of which I'm not entirely certain, to games like Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles. and continues to work with the company today, but primarily with sound effects and sound editing. And so it's unusual that these gentlemen got this job because it was a big deal for Sega. This is a time at which, as you both know, as your viewers will know, Sega's exiting the hardware business, and they are kind of scrambling, I imagine, to figure out a way forward for their company. And one of the strategies that Sega brass devised was to take a page from Nintendo and to begin developing games in-house, for which, of course, they wouldn't have to pay any licensing fees or so forth. They could retain all the IP rights and so forth. So one of their first big projects is Skies of Arcadia. And Minobi and Maeda get this job despite the fact that they don't have much to their credit at that point. They'd only made a few contributions to the company, and again, Maeda primarily in a kind of support role of sound effects. So they get this very big job. There's over 2 hours of music in Skies of Arcadia.
Wow.
They kind of split those songs between.
So from 20 minutes in our last video to 2 hours of soundtrack,
right.
It's quite the evolution of music.
Yeah, and so that's challenging for the person who's meant to come in and say something intelligent about it. I don't know that many of your viewers will want to sit and listen to me ramble for 2 hours, so I'll just pick selections from the soundtrack that I think are interesting. So some other things that are worth mentioning here. Maeda is, again, I mentioned he's kind of, I don't want to diminish his work by saying he's in the support role, but he doesn't, even today, he's not composing for games. I think his most recent credit is as an arranger for Sonic Forces. So he's still taking other compositions and then working with them. And so you can kind of hear that here in the score because the tracks that are a little more simplistic, a little more like tone poems, or they're just meant to set the mood, those are the tracks that come from Maeda primarily. It's not to say that he doesn't have any melodic compositions to his credit. He does, but for example, one of the songs for which he is responsible, let's play a little selection here. You can edit this out as I look for things.
Or will I?
Or you can...
Russ, entertain the audience.
Here we go. Okay.
Russ, stop entertaining.
So this is Galcian's theme, if I'm saying that correctly. Galcian? How do you pronounce that?
Galcian.
Okay,
Yeah,
Galcian. Alright, so this is Galcian's theme. Maybe.
But Russ will point out I can't pronounce things. Again, you've got that heavy looming thing going.
Right.
It's
Oppressive.
Very
low.
fitting.
The notes are held. This is not a track with a complex melody. The arrangement is fairly straightforward. And in general, this is what you're going to hear from Maeda throughout the soundtrack.
The percussion has kind of a metallic sound in the background, too.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
So there's kind of a feeling of industry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Okay, so let's just contrast that by going to the opening theme. This is composed by Minobi, and unlike most of the other selections from the soundtrack, this was recorded with a full orchestra. All right, it's the opening theme.
It sort of has the driving sounds a little like Legend of Zelda, just the driving force behind the music at this part. But yeah, if I'm piloting an airship, this is what's playing.
Right. Right. So I love that you said that. This is a game that is so heavily focused on the theme of exploration.
Mm-hmm.
This is, at least in this game's world, is kind of an age of exploration. You're in this airship.
Taking off for adventure unknown.
That's right. This is a song that's very much... There's both something maybe it's that bright, piercing trumpet, but there's something very much that feels light about it. You feel as if you're traveling through the air. It's bright, it's optimistic, it's forward charging. It's a theme of exploration, right? And so that's Minobi, and like I say, this is one of 4 tracks that were recorded using a full orchestra. So Sega obviously thought enough of the game to kind of welcome players to it with this rich orchestral version of some of Minobi's music, and then the game ends with full orchestral music as well. Everything in between there is the less expensive synthetic orchestra. So not to take away from the complexity of the compositions or anything, because they are often very dense and layered with different voices, but they are synthetic, since they would play with keyboard in-house,
Right.
thereby keeping the cost down. So should we listen to something else?
Yes.
So this is the Sky Pirate Hideout.
It's reminding me of the Ayla's theme from Chrono Trigger.
It does sound a
The-
little like that.
Yeah, the prehistoric boogie.
Right. I love this, how heavily percussive this is, because you have the drum track in the background, of course. Then you've got those kind of, yeah, almost like a xylophone, maybe. Boom, boom.
Actually, I think it's a marimba. I was in percussion in
Alright.
high school.
Oh,
I think
brilliant.
I
Okay.
think that's a marimba.
Excellent, excellent.
Marimbas have a wooden tone and much lower.
Okay.
So.
See, look at you.
I picked
Well,
up some
maybe
information
not, yeah.
somewhere.
So very nice. This is one of many percussively dominant tracks. Sticking with that theme, we could listen to the theme of tension.
The story of Russ's life.
So it opens with solo piano.
Living with depression is like having a weight on your chest.
Yes.
Very nicely done.
And so it's interesting that this opens with, again, a solo voice, piano, drenched in reverb. Maybe a little string movement comes in. In an interview, Minobi was asked what his strength, his weaknesses. His strength, at least, he felt was the acoustic sounds. And so you do have, throughout, you'll have moments like this where the big band arrangements kind of melt away. But this is what I love about this track. Listen to this. So I don't know about y'all, but this takes me right to Led Zeppelin. These are John Bonham drums, and they come in very surprisingly in this theme of tensions, which I love. All right. So I think in general, what you get throughout the soundtrack is a lot of orchestral stuff. Again, a lot of kind of bright, optimistic, cheerful type exploration themes.
Right.
Sometimes blending a kind of traditional orchestral arrangement with pop and rock and Uematsu type combination. But you also get a lot of versatility from these guys, and I think it's worth spotlighting a couple of compositions that are very unusual or very different, give different kinds of textures to the soundtrack. So one of the first that I think all players are going to remember is the theme from the Kingdom of Nazrad. So if we start in Western Europe, where are we now?
This is more Middle Eastern.
Yeah,
This
right.
is.
You're in a market in Aladdin.
Yeah, you're going to buy your flying carpet, is what I was about to say.
That's right. Get some chimes.
Actually, a little bit of Kingdom of Zeal in there too, sticking with the Chrono
That's
Trigger
true.
riff.
Yeah.
Before the flute came in, that's really what it felt like.
Yeah, so you have it opens with the melody is played on the flute. And now at this moment in particular, that kind of drops away, and what you get is this sitar like arrangement. Very unusual. It's certainly very different from the rest of the music on the soundtrack, and very much through the kind of borrowing of musical textures from different part of the world meant to take you into a different space and time.
Well, to enhance that feeling of exploring and reaching new cultures. And...
Yeah, and so if we contrast that with Sailor Town, now we're doing waltz. And not just any waltz, it's a waltz for accordion.
Yeah. Which makes it kind of Italian.
That's right.
Did you want to dance for us?
Of course. No, I actually really don't.
Look at the rejection. Break my heart.
Right. So, I don't want to overstay my welcome here, but I will mention just a couple other things again because I think they stand out so strongly. You're going to help me with pronunciation here. I'm going to say this is the kingdom of Ishitaka. If you like that.
Good enough.
IXA apostrophe TA.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Again, just spotlighting some of the variety that Anobi and Maeda bring to the game here.
This was one of my favorites.
It's definitely a jungle theme,
Right.
Donkey Kong Country-ish. I don't know how to
Now,
talk
see,
about music. That's all I've got.
I love that though because I think that helps us to hear what's so unusual about this because I think I'm just going to take a guess here.
Go
What
for
you're
it.
picking up on is that the drums,
Yeah.
very big, tribal type drums, but then contrast that with the melody, the instrument it's being played on, and then throughout here what we have are these.
Yeah.
You have these kind of cattle calls from herders, shepherds of some kind. So it's like a cowboy song, but one from the Pampas of South America or something. It's very strange. And then here's our kind of Spanish guitar. So whereas with Kingdom of Nosrad, that is very much one kind of geographic place. This is a song to me that's very hard to pin down. It's blending influences.
It's
from around the
Western
world.
and Southern. And,
Yeah, it's very
yeah.
pretty. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss with Skies of Arcadia?
No,
I think there's nothing I could add.
we've been talking music for us.
Right.
Do you
Yeah.
realize we've been talking music? That's crazy.
I will just add as a kind of parting shot, just because this stood out to me so strongly, having recently played Undertale. Let's see if I can find it here again. Bear with me as I.
Russ has quite the
Control F.
Undertale story that he can share once we stop filming.
So this isn't. It's not a dead ringer, but I'm just gonna play it and see if you hear what I mean. This is Theme of Loneliness.
Story of my life. You had tension, I get loneliness.
And again, recall that Minobi described his own strength as performing on acoustic tracks like this. So he seems to prefer those moments where he's left to express what
It's
a single
very
voice can carry.
effective.
Yeah, it's very a theme of loneliness. So it's
Yeah.
very melancholy.
Yeah, but it's also pretty. It's sadly pretty.
But so, like I say, it's not a dead ringer. But I think if you play Snowy from Undertale, you'll see that these are two very similar compositions, with kind of similar effect on the listener.
Very cool.
Skies of Arcadia.
Very nice.
There you go. Well, thank you again very much for helping us out and
Well, it's my
giving us a
absolute pleasure.
deeper
So,
appreciation of the game we played.
I was just wrapped.
And next time we will rap.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Next
I have
time we
some
will.
really sick freestyle skills.
Yeah.
We will compose an
Check out this
original
beat.
rap piece, and the footage may get lost, so you may not see it, but we're going to do it. It's going to be a big. Thank you again, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Fist bump.
Oh, that's right. We have to
Yeah,
consistency.
we have to do
Yeah.
that.
All right.
All right.
So we'll see you guys next time.
So it should be pretty obvious by the review that we've just done for this game, but it was horrible. I just hated every minute of it, and I don't think that I will ever play this game ever again. I'm just kidding, obviously. This game, Skies of Arcadia Legends, has become one of my top 10 favorite RPGs of all time. I really am just disappointed in myself for not experiencing this game until now, but I'm so glad that I have. It's just a huge world and great characters that you can get lost in, and also a very wonderful battle system that doesn't feel tedious. The biggest praise I could give about the game is just the I don't know how I want to say it, like the realism in it, the things like your pirate rank, and the discovery locations, competing for other pirates to find the different discoveries, and having this hidden value of a rank and a reputation that you have. It all comes together and creates such a rich world and rich characters. It's just a really amazing story to discover, and it's really fun to play along the way. So I give this game an absolute A+. Yes, absolute A+ from me, in the top 10 of my favorite RPGs of all time.
I completely share in Russ's enthusiasm for this game. It is a very long game, and I wished it never ended. It was so much fun. I actually was reveling in its length. Russ and I had to play through a lot of games for this series, and with a lot of them, even ones that I like, there comes this frustration of, come on, I gotta finish this, I got the next one to get to. But this one just took forever, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I love the characters. I like the different combat system. I like the different types of combat system. The ship battles were so much fun. Fighting on that logical grid, they were a blast. I absolutely love this game. I am so sad that there's not remakes or sequels, or that this is it. It's kind of frustrating because it's so good. How is there not more of this? I also absolutely give it an A+. It's probably on my top 10. I haven't checked. I haven't done tabulations, but it definitely deserves a slot. Awesome game. If you want to play this game at home, sorry, get a Dreamcast or get a GameCube.
Right.
Because those are the only two ways you can play it, and good luck finding a copy for the GameCube.
Confession time, you don't even know this.
Oh god.
So I started out playing an emulated version of this game and loved it so much that I went out, and I think luck was on my side, and I didn't even have to go online. I found a copy of it for an amount of money that I'm not going to disclose.
Oh god.
But I found it at, I guess, shout out time, Game Over Video Games.
We as a show deeply support
Yes,
Game Over
we
Video
deeply
Games.
support them.
They are fantastic. If there's one near you, you need to go there now.
Yes, I went to my local Game Over Video Games. They had a copy for an amount of money that I'm not going to disclose, but I bought it and I replayed the beginning and finished it on my old GameCube. Because that's the only way that you can play it without a offline or whatever.
But I will say this now, if
but
you
it's
loved
great.
the characters so much, you can spend a little bit more time with the characters, because Vice, Ica, and Fina show up in Valkyrie Chronicles which was remastered for the PS4. It's a game that I highly recommend. Russ,
It wasn't really my cup of tea.
Russ isn't a tactical game kind of guy.
No.
I am.
Unless it's Fire Emblem, I don't really want to play that kind of game.
So we're probably never going to address it on the show. But if you like Final Fantasy Tactics or any games in that wheelhouse, believe me, you will enjoy Valkyrie Chronicles. It's beautiful, and it's by Sega, and they put the Skies of Arcadia characters in it, which I played that before I knew them. Now I kind of want to replay it so I can spend time with my friends again.
And I do agree that it's beautiful. Valkyrie Chronicles is a beautiful game.
But that's not the game we're here to talk about.
No, it's not. We're here to talk about an amazing game, and it really is great. I mean, I'm not going to tell you how much money that you should pay for this game, but if you have a chance to buy a copy of that old GameCube original, then do it.
The old GameCube original remake.
The original remake, exactly. Yeah, it's fantastic, and what's funny is on this day that we're recording this, they had a Nintendo Direct. And now that I've experienced this game, I was only disappointed by the Nintendo Direct because they didn't announce like an HD port on the Switch. That's going to be my number one thing for Nintendo now is HD port on the Switch.
I don't kind of like with even more so than with Great Greed. Why is there not a remake? Why is there not a spiritual sequel, an actual sequel? This game is amazing, and I have no idea why it just sits there on the shelf. Like, I don't know why Sega doesn't do something with this franchise. Why it's not a franchise.
Right. It doesn't make sense. So, yeah, we highly recommend it if you're a fan of story-rich and character-rich games that are also fun to play, that have a battle system that is not a slog. And gameplay systems that are not a slog, then definitely play Skies of Arcadia.
So this was our first GameCube game.
Mm-hmm.
Our next game will also be a first. Russ, what did you want us to play next? Oh no, I'm incorrect. I have skipped a whole game. I apologize for that false build-up. Because next we're playing an NES original.
You really had my hopes up there for a minute.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, I have the next 5 years worth of games mapped out. No, next we're playing an NES.
Next we're playing a game, okay, and I'm in the middle of playing it, so it's good, but it's what it is. It's an NES game, but it's the NES game for this series, which is the original Final Fantasy.
So there you go. We are finally, at long last, touching what many of you probably thought should have been the first thing we did.
Yeah. Well, we needed to play some obscure things first.
Yes, like Skies of Arcadia.
Yeah.
So join us next time for Final Fantasy 1.
Final Fantasy 1. Yay.
See you guys then.
Let's hear it for the boy.
Oh, God.